cool little farmhouse end table in full detail. This is going to be a pine frame, stained weathered gray, and some natural black walnut top tabletop and bottom shelves. We're going to go deep detail in this build. Hopefully you can learn something. I only built one. This is actually for me. The matching coffee table I have on my front porch. So this is going to be matching it, and was one of my earlier pieces of furniture I built with pine and some walnut I had left over. So I just want to match it rather than replacing both pieces. So we just made one table. It's a long video. Hopefully you watch, learn something. If you have any questions, let me know. It's a pretty detailed build of every step I take, every tool I use. You don't have to do it this way. You could build this with pocket screws or dowels. I used the mortise tenon joinery with the festal domino just to make it easier for me, but also I like the way it lines up and makes my stuff a little more square than pocket screws a little bit. So that's just my preference, but you could have done this even quicker with pocket holes, which, you know, my coffee table is built with pocket holes, so it's not a big deal. But I just want to show you in detail using the domino joiner for this build. Like I do most of my tables, and these are fun builds for me. I love building tables. That's what I do. I build hundreds of these tables a year, if not more. And this is just a fun build. So hopefully you learned something and you liked the video. All right, let's go. Some of this walnut, some of this pine. All right. All right, we're going to measure these to 23. These are going to be the legs. And we're going to set our stop block. So table height will be 24 when it's all said and done, a little roughly over with the top. It'll be a little over an inch, hopefully. So we have all four of our legs cut now. Okay, so now we're going to do our layout. So I want, these are going to be about 17 by 20. So about 15. So that puts us at 12 and a quarter for the fronts. So you look at your table kind of like that. And then side to side, these are going to be 20 inches deep. So I want this to be about 18. That will be 14. So we need 12 and a quarter and 14. All right, let's go to the miter saw. Okay, so these are going to be 12 and a quarter. Our first cuts. And we're going to set our stop block. Okay, so our next pieces we're going to cut at 14. Measure it out. And we'll reset our stop block. Okay, so now we have our frame pieces for the most part for the base milled up. We have our legs and we have our stretcher and apron pieces here. So now we're going to run these through the router table and put a chamfer on each edge, tops and bottoms for the bottom pieces, and then just the bottoms halves for the top frame and apron pieces here. And then we're going to do all four sides of the legs, and then we're going to do nice sanding. This pine's not going to win any awards, but you know it's going to match what I have right now, which is a pine walnut coffee table. So while I'm at it, I'm going to plane down these upside down X pieces here. Okay, you're probably going to hear me earlier, so what I was doing there is running these four pieces here. These will be going upside down V pieces here, and we're going to run these through the router table now while we have them out. So they're not cut the length yet. They're just milled up to thickness and width, and they'll kind of sit like this, and they're on an angle, usually about 22.5-degree angle typically, and we'll just put a chamfer on each edge, all four sides. We'll do that now. Okay, so now we're going to sand these. We're going to start with 80 grit. So we use the rigid sander. Come on, rough. I'm just going to run 80 grit on all these pieces here. So I'm going to set this for the bottom stretcher, 3.5. Lay that out. Our dominoes out. Start marking. Okay, so now we're just going to start laying out our frame pieces here. We're going to use our combination rulers here, and we're going to get our bottom at 3.5 and lay this out so we know where it's going to go. We're going to take our two 6x40 millimeter dominoes. We're going to use these. I'll lay these out on the top stretcher here to the legs. We have, I don't know if you notice here, we also have these little spacers here to give us our shadow line of reveal. So we're going to take that into consideration when we set our domino up for that extra, I'm going to say like maybe 2-3 millimeter, whatever. So we're going to add that in. So we set our mortises up on our legs. So now we're just going to do all of our layout now. All right, let's go. To show side won't have the markings on them. Hopefully here. So the least perfect size, the sides have a little more knots, will be on the inside, so you don't see them as much. All right, so let's finish marking these out. Take this, we're going to match that with that line. So this will be our bottom mortise. There. Cut here. This is our top. Leave it at top. Top. Do the same thing. This will be your cut. We'll take this one here. This will be our top mortise. I mark all four sides because this is where the domino plate will sit. Alright, so there's our top mortises. Okay, so now we're going to set our bottom mortises up, our marking, our layout. So we're going to set this right here. So that'll be our bottom. And we'll use this combination square for our top mortise. Right there. So now we can mark without having to do any math. We'll mark our mortises. Now will be our cut. This will be our other cut. Over here. So now we know what our layout is without thinking. Alright, so we're pretty much ready to start doing our bottom ones here. We're going to start, then we'll start putting our mortises in, our frame pieces and our legs. As you can see here, we have the plate and the center line here, and that's where we're going to line our marking from earlier. We have two markings on each piece. We have a piece planted down. Okay, so now we're going to mortise our legs. So I guess the first thing I want to do, honestly, is I want to do a test cut on one of these, just because I have to factor in the shadow line. So you can do the math, or you can kind of just do a test. Do a test set up here. So we want to get our exact height on this, and we're going to use a test piece first, because I want to make sure I have taken into account my shadow line here, which is my spacer. So we're going to add a couple millimeter here to our plate, and then we're also going to set our knob to our wider set. I already turned it on and set this, but you got to have it set to this. And you want to do it while the machine's on, but I already did a test cut, so it's already set. So all right, let's run a test on this. This is gonna mimic our leg. We don't care where it's located here and here. I just want to get my space here. That's a good shadow line there. That's perfect. So the first leg here. Right on the chamfer. That's what you want. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to just dry fit this. Just a couple of these pieces at least. This will be the show side. Over here. Taking this apart. You do a glue up. We're just going to glue up the two side structures, bottom tops, and then we'll lay these on this overnight. Let these sit, and then we'll do the rest tomorrow. All right, let's go. Let's get some clamps out and some glue. All right. Lay these in. So I usually like to set these at 22.5 to start. That's typically what I set these. My default tables at 20 by 20s. These are a little thinner, so but the depth front to back is still the same. So the angle still should be the same because it's the same height of the table also. So we should be good with this. But we'll measure it up and we'll line it up and then we'll get our final cut. Then we'll set our stop block. As you can see here, 22.5 is pretty much perfect. I want to have at least, you know, three-quarters of an inch gap in between both slats, so I know that I can get my nail gun in there to brad nail these in with the glue. So we're going to mark this, and then that will be our final cut right there. Now we can set our stop block to the final cut. And I always know the bigger side of my miter always is on the inside. And I'll flip it, make our cut. And there's our upside down V. I will line it up. Make sure it fits. Yeah, that's good. We could probably make the length a little shorter even, but I think that's good. That's a perfect fit. And that's what it's going to look like. Ready to loop and bend this one. I have no wasted time here. So while this is gluing up the frame, we can install our upside down V's. With some glue and brad nails. Just going to use this 18-inch or 18 gauge brad nailer, and we have, I think, 1 1/4 inch brads in here. So just put a little glue. Each end. Not too much. And the brad nails will act as clamps for this. These are solid. Little things, I guess, are just nice little details in your work. So now we're ready to move on to the rest of, we're going to put our bottom little cleats in here to hold the bottom shelves. And then we're going to start milling up our top and bottom shelves. Alright, so the frame is pretty much done. Besides a lot of sanding, clean up. Alright, let's go. Okay, so now I'm going to cut these two top pieces at 8.5 inches roughly in final width. After we got one straight edge on the jointer and cut to the rough length on the miter saw and jigsaw. So now we're going to just cut our width on both of these boards before we mill up, or I'm sorry, before we probably went to the planer 1 or 2 passes, and then we're going to laminate these 2 pieces for the top. So these are just under 2 inches, or about a little over 1.5 inches in thickness. So we're going to mill them down just a little bit. All right, let's go. And you can see here, these are a real clean joint. When you run through the jointer and then cut the other end with a table saw, you get one clean joint here. So when we laminate these, we shouldn't have any issues with seams here. You can really barely see them. Pull this out, close them back in. It's real tight. All right, so we're going to run these through the planer, we're just going to skip plane these real quick, just to get them cleaned up, any debris on these. These were from the project, this walnut that I had laying around. So they've already been somewhat milled up, so we're just going to finish it up. Just clean it up a little bit. All right, let's go. Okay, so we're going to use the biscuit joiner to help align these boards as we glue up. Let me put this out of the way. So we'll put 3 biscuits in each one here. Just line a plate, the marker. Okay, so here what I'm doing here, I'm just cutting up some little trim pieces for the bottom cleats. Here, we're going to put some bottom cleats to hold the bottom shelves in. So we're just going to cut up a couple 12-inch by, obviously just under an inch in width, and we're just going to cut these to final length now. I'm going to cut these to 12 inches. That'll be perfect. Just going to throw a couple countersinks in here because we're going to throw a couple screws in, so some little trim head screws to help hold these on to give a little more strength with the brad nails. Okay, so I'm going to use a little spacer here. This is going to be the thickness of the bottom shelves. So hopefully you can see this here. We're just going to lay this in. I'll lay it flat here. We'll throw a couple brad nails in to start. All right. Okay, so next we're going to put the bottom shelves here, and I'm just going to lay long ways and rest on these bottom cleats that we just brad down and screwed in. So now we're going to get our rough length here, which is going to be about 15 and a half. I don't want to be too tight, and our width is going to be 12 and about a quarter. So we'll probably make it around. So we're going to cut 2 6-inch pieces here. We're going to rip, and then we'll cut them lengthwise at 15 and a half. So that's what we'll do next. And these will be walnut also. These are 15 and a half. Okay, so while the frame's still drying up, it's pretty much dry now. It's been about 3 or 4 hours, I would say, at least 3.5. So it's probably dry. But I'm gonna leave the clamps on a little bit longer since I'm kind of multitasking anyway. So the bottom shelves are milled up and fitted in. These look perfect. I don't have to really even do much with these. I'll just sand them a little bit, and then the top is still laminating. I'll let that sit for a couple more hours. Take them out of clamps. Then we'll do a lot of sanding on the frame, the bottom shelves, the top shelf. We'll clean up, run a chamfer on the edges, and then we're gonna stain the frame gray, weathered gray, and then the top we're gonna leave natural, but we're gonna finish with in the bottom shelf also with some Osmo. So that's all that's really left. So it's really just a lot of cleanup now for the most part. We'll cut the top to the final length when it comes out of clamps though. It's pretty close now. We'll take probably like a 1/4 inch off each end just to clean it up. All right, let's go. Let these sit for a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to put in some slots for the top Z-clips to mount the tops. I'm going to use the biscuit joiner for that. If need be, to help prevent wood from splitting from humidity and weather changes in the tops. Of course, what could try to happen is this glue joint could try to split it open over time with humidity and moisture changes. So we're going to use a Z-clip so that wood can slide back and forth this way if need be. If that makes sense. All right. Okay, so now we're going to route a chamfer on the bottom of 4 feet here. This will prevent from splitting, moving the table around. Even though I know this is going on carpet, it's not a major deal, but we're going to run it anyway. So we're going to use this router. It's going to be a very slight chamfer. Okay, so I'm going to do now is we're going to get two straight edges with the track saw here, and we're going to use a square to get one straight edge. And then we'll cut the other side to the final length. Okay, it looks pretty straight. Okay, so now we're going to take this all apart and we're going to paint the frame, this pine frame. We're going to, we're going to stain it weathered gray. So let's start that now. It's all sanded down, ready to go. Just wipe down the excess. So the stain is done. So now we're ready to put some Osmo on the top and bottom shelves and then mount the bottom and top shelves. Okay, so we're going to use some Osmo Poly X, the 3043 satin, the clear satin, for our finish for the tops and bottom shelves while the frame dries. And that will pretty much be it for this project for the most part, besides mounting the top and the bottom shelves. So let's go. And for the poly, I just use this little Scotch-Brite pad. Just dip it in. Just wipe it on in a circular motion. Just get into the pores of the wood. I know people say you only need one coat for this, but I put 2 or 3 on and wipe off the excess with a pad or a cloth. One of the shot tails here. All right, so let's wipe this on, get a coat on, and then we'll wipe off the excess. Okay, so I have a coat on the top and bottom shelves. Some of this figure is beautiful. And this walnut, it's one of my favorite woods. And this is from where we put the little CA glue, black CA glue. You can't really tell. It's there. It kind of blends right in with the black walnut. So we're going to start wiping off the excess in about 5 minutes. Let these soak in. So what Osmo does, it soaks into pores of the wood and kind of it protects it from up, from inside out for the most part. It's a great product and it's environmentally safe. It's one of my favorite finishes. Let these soak in. Let these dry. And we'll do another coat later.